Welcome back to the Barrels on Tuesday morning, 16th of February. We have a 6-game NBA slate that we will break down. We lost one game overnight. Pistons Spurs game got cancelled due to COVID contact tracing, but we have a couple of great games left. Already made a few wagers. So yeah, we will get right into it. If you have any comment or feedback, you know where to find me at the Barrel Zone on Twitter or anywhere basically. And if you want to grab my plays and read my written analysis, you can go to patreon.com/the Barrel Zone and support the podcast. So, first game on the board, Boston Celtics hosting the Denver Nuggets. I was waiting for this game a lot, but not in this form. The Denver Nuggets are extremely banged up here. Game is off the board on most books, but on the soft books you can find Celtics -3 right now. Bet365 is at Celtics -3.5. That's a lot of respect given to Boston. So Nuggets will be without Will Barton, Gary Harris, Dozier, and Millsap. Morris is questionable and Murray is just injured, but he's playing through the injuries. So they are confirmed down 3 starters. Murray isn't healthy. Morris is questionable. I think he will go probably. Even if he can walk, he will probably just be forced to go against this Celtics team. Celtics are still without Smart. He's the on-court leader. Since he went down, the team ranks 24th in points per possessions. Absolutely horrendous. Celtics have a -4 point differential, -5.5 on average against the closing spread since they lost Smart. Huge key piece. They had some embarrassing losses. I still cannot lay this many points with them, to be honest. I know that Denver is banged up. If everyone was fully healthy, I would make the Nuggets small favorites here. My line with everyone in would be Denver -0.5 point. So yeah, obviously they have key injuries, but they still will have Murray. They still will have Michael Porter Jr. They still have Jokic, obviously. I cannot lay 3 points with the Celtics. I think this will probably closer to a pick'em, or at least move closer to a pick'em. I can accept like Celtics -1 or 2. I think 3 is too much. I'm not going to get involved. The Nuggets have been super average these last 2 weeks. They are grading 14th offensively, 13th defensively. Nothing really to like, and they are down 3 starters, and one of the remaining starters isn't healthy. So, I mean, if there is a point where they get blown out, this is it. On the other end, I mean, the Celtics did just look lost. They didn't want to be there in the last few games. The loss to Washington was absolutely horrible. So yeah, I don't like either team here. Bad spot for both teams. Also, both teams have a game tomorrow, and both teams have an easier game tomorrow. So if this game starts to get out of hand, either side goes up big, I'm 100% sure the other team will just punt the game and will try to get the W tomorrow with the shortened rosters. So yeah, I think the 3.5, 3 is a bit too much respect given to the Celtics, but I couldn't touch this game. I would be leaning Denver at that number, but you are better off skipping. We have way better games on the slate. Second game, Memphis Grizzlies hosting the New Orleans Pelicans. This line is pretty sharp. That was my first thought this morning when I was looking at the board. So Pinnacle has this one right up, and the Pelicans are 1-point road favorites, although it's at +103, so it's basically a pick'em. My line is a pick'em or Pelicans by half a point, so I completely agree with this. I don't like where Memphis is heading. And even though the Pelicans are on a 3-game skid, I think overall they did look better through the past few weeks. And at least we see some positive things from them. So the Pelicans rate as the best offense in the whole league through the last 2 weeks, which I think is pretty amazing. They have like a 126.5 points per 100 possessions. So offensive ratings over 125 are pretty amazing. So yeah, they are third worst in defense. Pretty similar to Brooklyn overall. Like in some ways, that like the Pelicans are like Brooklyn Light or mini Brooklyn. Amazing offensive efficiency lately, terrible defense. On the other end, Memphis Grizzlies are grading as the fourth worst defense through the last 3 weeks or so. Fourth worst. This team was graded as a top 5 defense before the Morant injury and before they had those COVID issues, but they are one of the worst defenses in the league. While the Pelicans have a +4 point differential through the last 2 weeks, the Memphis Grizzlies are sitting at -7. So yeah, absolutely terrible. They are average offensively, nothing special, but the defense is just so bad. Actually, these two teams had a game against each other not too long ago, and the Grizzlies were out-rebounding the Pelicans. They had the better free throw rate, and they still lost by like almost 10, as they just cannot hit the shots. Main problem, I think, is still Morant. The thing is that he has a 32% usage rate, but he's only averaging 107 points per 100 possessions. That's below league average. That's almost like Westbrook-ish bad. So if you have a star who is this bad offensively, when it comes to offensive efficiency, and he's holding on to the ball obviously this much, I think you are in a pretty bad shape. Actually, everyone on the Memphis team who has a 20% or higher usage rate is below average in offensive efficiency besides Valanciunas. So yeah, the offense isn't good, and I mean, you are going up against the number 1 ranked offense right now. Pelicans also will have a huge rebounding edge. They are first in offensive rebounding, 7th in defensive rebounding. Memphis is decent in offensive rebounding, but they are just 20th in defensive rebounding, which is pretty bad if you go up against the top offensive rebounding team in the league. Memphis is dead last in the league when it comes to drawing free throws. So overall, Pelicans, I think, have a decent matchup here, and while their defense is pretty bad around the rim, and they have a bad 3-point defense, they are pretty decent against mid-range jumpers, and they allow the 2nd lowest frequency and the 6th lowest efficiency on mid-range jumpers. The Memphis Grizzlies are all about the mid-range jumper, so I don't think this is a terrible matchup for them. As I said, they already beat Memphis once. Pelicans are fully healthy. They are on 3 days of rest. So yeah, I think they should be slight road favorites here. If we see a buyback coming on the Grizzlies, I will be probably getting on the Pelicans here. Grizzlies opened up as 1.5 point favorites actually, and the line flipped. Now we see some kind of buyback, but I think the spots, despite this being a road game for the Pelicans and they are on a 3-game skid, I think the matchup is great. I really don't like the offensive output from Memphis. The huge rebounding edge going towards the Pelicans. Overall, I think the line is sharp, but I would definitely lean towards the Pelicans. Hopefully, some plus money line is something we will see today. But yeah, I think if you are watching or listening this later, you might see that, and then I will absolutely jump on the Pelicans here. Milwaukee Bucks hosting the Toronto Raptors. Milwaukee has Holiday out, obviously still out. Toronto OG is doubtful. I don't think he will play. So the Bucks haven't been as amazing lately, but they are still one of the better teams in the league. They grade 7th offensively, 12th defensively through the last 2 weeks. Overall, through the season, they are the 2nd best offense and the 14th best defense. I was talking about their defense getting way better recently. They are still making huge leaps in that area. In the first month of the season, they were like a bottom 10 offense consistently. Now they are league average-ish or even better than league average, and this is helping them a lot. Obviously, as it goes with the best, one of the best offenses in the league. They have a plus 10 point differential on average, outperforming closing spreads by 1.5 points. On the other end, Toronto Raptors, again, another team who is making improvements. The Raptors, the biggest issue was the offense. Siakam started the season terribly. Now he's back up again, averaging over 20 points. Teams' offensive ratings just consistently going up. Through the season, they now grade as the 9th best offense, 8th best through the last 2 weeks. They have a plus 4 point differential, pretty decent. +2 against the closing spread on average. One thing to note, the Raptors face the fourth easiest schedule in the league, so they might have been, especially lately, they faced an easy schedule, so there might be some overperforming going on here, but I mean, overall, they are still legit. My problem here with the matchup, I think first I have to say that I think the line is right. So the Bucks are laying 5.5 to 6 points. Um, I'm making it 5.5, but anything between 5 and 6, I think, is okay. Um, Basically, the Bucks are better everywhere, but not by a huge margin. Rebounding is pretty lopsided. Bucks are ninth in offensive, fourth in defensive rebounding. Raptors are 18th in offensive and 29th in defensive rebounding. So my main problem is I'm always talking about how the Raptors offense sets up and how they base everything on the three-pointer, and if they can get those clear looks and hit those threes, you will be in trouble. They shoot the fifth most threes in the game, seventh highest efficiency in the league. And my problem is that the Bucks allowed the third highest amount of threes and the second highest field goal percentage. And now they don't have Holiday, so the perimeter defense will be even worse. For a team that is already running a 40% field goal percentage on threes on average, which is pretty high. So yeah, that's the only reason why I'm not looking at the Bucks here. To be honest, they are better on both sides of the ball, better rebounding. Raptors also falling way too much. That's my another big issue with them. Milwaukee knows how to draw free throws. Raptors are giving up way too much. So yeah, it's Milwaukee or bust for me. If this gets down a bit, I mean, at 4.5, I would probably look at the Bucks, but I don't think we will get there. This is an efficiently lined game, and the thing is, the Bucks are mostly efficiently lined on the market, so the market knows what to expect from them. If we check their season-long numbers against the spread, I think they are one of the most. Yeah, they are plus 1.5 points against the closing spreads, which is not a lot. So the lines with the Bucks are usually efficient, and they bring what you expect. So yeah, no lean here really. The 3-point shooting worries me. Maybe the Raptors can keep it close if the Bucks cannot defend the three ball, which I'm expecting will happen, but no play from me. LA Lakers at the Minnesota Timberwolves, game off the board. The Lakers laying 7.5 points at the shops that have the line up. I'm off on this game as well. Anthony Davis out for the Lakers. He will be out for multiple weeks. On the other end, Minnesota Timberwolves, D'Angelo Russell is out, Carver is out. And now they have Karl Anthony Towns back, but he seems like to be limited to 30 minutes a game. And the team will likely keep it at that, and that's it. Still, he's averaging 20 points and 10 rebounds since he came back, so obviously a huge boost. But on the other end, you are losing Russell, who is averaging 19 points himself, second best scorer on the team. So yeah, I said I'm not backing Minnesota until they are fully healthy. I'm keeping to that. Overall, they are a bottom 3 team on both sides of the ball, but they weren't healthy through the whole season. Now that Karl Anthony Towns finally came back, D'Angelo Russell goes down. We will see what comes out of this. They will probably start tanking hard sooner than later, especially as we have a huge draft coming up. So yeah, I'm not looking at the Timberwolves, especially as they host the Pacers tomorrow. A bit easier game. Maybe they will just play everyone 20-25 minutes here and try to bring better effort there. I don't think they have a shot against the Lakers even without AD. The Lakers on the other side, they haven't been that impressive through the last 2 weeks. They just grade 19th offensively, 5th defensively, as they have been the best defense by far in the season. But they only have a plus 4.8 point differential and minus 4 against closing spreads on average. They faced the tougher part of their schedule. They had like a 7-8 game road trip. Anthony Davis was in and out of the lineup with injuries. So yeah, I mean, I know why this happened, but still, I mean, they have been underperforming their spreads by more than 4 points on average. It's not a team I want to lay 8 points on the road with, especially against the Minnesota team that often gets overlooked by other teams. So yeah, I make it 7. My line is 7 here. So again, no edge, no play, but we will have plays in the last two games of the slate. I can promise you that. So OKC Thunder hosting the Portland Trail Blazers. This is probably the most interesting game I think this whole week. Both of these teams are missing at least two of their three best players, and both of these teams have been overperforming against market expectations after those injuries happened. So yeah, OKC is +9 against closing spreads on average in the last 2 weeks, and Portland is +9.2 points on average, which is insane. So yeah, the Blazers are without Nurkic, McCollum, Hood, and Collins are also out. OKC is without SGA, Hill, and Maladon. So yeah, both teams kind of survived or are surviving this wave where they don't have their key players available. They are doing it a bit differently. Obviously, OKC was grading as the second worst offense in the league, so you cannot really get worse than that offensively, even if you lose two of your three best scorers in SGA and Hill. But basically, the scoring is a bit spread out, but they didn't get any worse. But defensively, they did improve. So I'm always praising the young guys in the OKC team. I mean, if you look at the defense through the last 2 weeks, they grade as the best defense in the NBA. They are allowing 103.5 points per 100 possessions. That's an amazing mark, and the guys are doing amazingly on the team overall. And I think it's a more balanced team. So like this style suits them way more. That they are just forcing this strong perimeter defense and yeah, the offense. I mean, it's minimal, but you don't really have to score that much if you are allowing. I mean, this low amount of points, and they are always dogs, so you just need to cover the number, obviously, from a betting perspective. On the other end, the Blazers. Again, Gary Trent Jr. stepping up, Carmelo Anthony playing way better, Covington stepping up. So we knew that they have some guys who are capable of playing a bit better if they get a bigger role, and they have good scorers, and we are seeing that. So I'm actually not downgrading either team that much now after those injuries happen. I think they are both different than they were before, but not necessarily worse. We've seen like Miami just fall apart when the injuries happened to them, but these two squads kind of survived. So yeah, OKC, I kind of love here. I think they are getting 7.5 points at home, which is pretty horrendous line in my opinion for a team that just beat the Milwaukee Bucks. They did lose by 2 against Denver, and they lost twice in overtime to Lakers. So if you take the Lakers to overtime twice, they lose by 2 to the Denver Nuggets, and you beat the Milwaukee Bucks. I don't think this banged up Portland team should be 7.5 point home favorites, road favorites against you. Sorry. So yeah, Blazers. They are the 5th best offense through the season in points per possessions, but they face the third easiest overall schedule of opposing defenses. So you cannot really fault or downgrade the team based on that. So that they cannot do anything about it. They just face an easy schedule. But I mean, you still have to kind of factor it in. They aren't as good as they seem offensively, and they will face the team that has the best defense through the last 2 weeks. And overall, OKC is now top 10 defense through the whole season. So yeah. Portland also has a game tomorrow, so this is the front end of a back-to-back. They will probably not play to cover this game. They have a game at New Orleans tomorrow. Obviously, more difficult opponent. I think minutes will be kept relatively low. OKC doesn't have a game before or after, so that's a better spot for them. This is a 5-game homestand for them. Game 2 of the 5-game homestand. Obviously, great recent results, and I think they are just a decent defense, and they know how to slow down the game. The defense in the paint for the Thunder isn't that good, but Portland averages only 37 points in the paint, which is a really low number. And I'm always saying with the Blazers, you have to be able to slow down again, similar to Toronto, the 3-point shooting. And OKC is a pretty decent perimeter defense. And I think overall this is a good matchup for the new lineup. And I'm liking them at home. I think 7.5 is at least 2 points off, but maybe even more of where it should be. So if you can grab that number now, I think you should probably. I think Pinnacle will trade this at a way lower number. It's really difficult to set a line on a game with this many injuries on both sides, especially as both teams were playing decent basketball lately. But I think OKC could win this outright, but I'm like a 90% sure this will be at least a close game, and you are getting 7.5 points at home on a team that doesn't have a game tomorrow. So yeah, OKC Thunder for me is a bet. And the last game of the day, Phoenix Suns hosting the Brooklyn Nets. Nets are on a back-to-back. They won't have Kevin Durant. He's out for at least a few more games. Harden played 35 minutes last night, Kyrie 31 in a blowout W. This was probably the first time that their minutes were kept relatively low. Steve Nash is always playing these guys 40 minutes, and then they have to sit out on the tail ends of the back-to-backs. I don't think it will happen here. I'm expecting both guys to play here. But still, it's a back-to-back with travel, without their best player. And Phoenix is fully healthy, I think, for the first time this season, or at least they haven't been healthy for like more than a month now. They also don't have a game yesterday, didn't have a game yesterday, won't have a game tomorrow. So fully healthy at home against a team traveling in without the best player on a back-to-back. Suns are on a 6-game winning streak. They beat Bucks, the Bucks, the Philly Sixers, the Celtics. So they have a couple of nice wins now. Through the last 2 weeks, they grade as the 9th best offense, 14th best defense. Through the season, they are top 10 on both sides of the ball. +5 point differential, +1.5 against closing spreads. So it's pretty decent numbers, but it's a super balanced team. They aren't like amazing everywhere, but they know what they are doing, and they have a decent offense, decent defense. They also face the like a league average schedule. Brooklyn faced the 9th easiest, so it's a bit easier for them. Nets are ranked 3rd offensively, overall 5th offensively through the last 2 weeks, and they are bottom 5 defensively, no matter what time frame do you check. So basically, it's a top 5 offense, maybe top 3 even, super high offensive efficiency, but 0 defense. I would make this game a pick'em if everyone was playing for both teams and they were on equal res, but Brooklyn doesn't have KD and they have a back-to-back, so you have to factor that in. I think Suns have to be at least 4-point favorites here. I'm closer to 5 to be honest. So like 4, 4.5, 5. I'm accepting those numbers. Anything less, I will have to look at the home team here. If you remember back when the Nets were without their 3 bigs, when one of the guys was out, it happened multiple times, and then when they were playing back-to-backs and many games in just short stretches, they have been pretty amazingly bad. So I'm not saying it will happen again, but playing a back-to-back without KD against a tough team is a difficult ask. Huge rebounding edge going for Phoenix. They grade 6th in points per possessions allowed defensively and 6th in effective field goal percentage allowed, going up against obviously a top Brooklyn defense, but at least I think they will be able to slow them down. On the other end, Brooklyn's defense is terrible. That's a huge mismatch on the other end of the court. My big issue with the Suns is that they are simply fouling way too much. They are allowing the 11th most free throws, and Brooklyn is drawing the 4th most. So that's something you should be able to fix on such a high-level team that is full of smart players, but they are simply fouling way too much. They just shouldn't do this. And I mean, if you do that against Harden, you know that what will happen. So this is my only issue with the game, and that's why I'm not like completely in love with the Suns here, as I'm expecting Brooklyn to just score 10 more points from free throws than Phoenix wills, and that's a big handicap you and the bad position you are putting yourself into. But again, Nets are through shooting threes at the 10th highest rate in the league, second highest field goal percentage, overall one of the more efficient shooting teams. Phoenix allows the fifth lowest field goal percentage from downtown. So yeah, overall, as I said, I think it's a decent matchup. And if you look at like Phoenix offense is 10th in points per possession, 7th in effective field goal percentage, and they are facing a Brooklyn squad, a Brooklyn defense that's 23rd in points per possession allowed. So through the whole season, and this will be probably even worse now that they don't have KD. Nets are also just 2-4 ATS on tail ends of back-to-backs. They are 4-8 ATS on the road. Obviously, just small sample size, but I thought I will mention. So, yeah, if Harden just won't out free throw them like by 20 points, I think the Suns will get the W here. This is a decent matchup, and I think they are getting a bit overlooked. If you check books right now, like Betfair has like a Phoenix -2, 2.5. Anything around 3, I think, is a bet. 3.5, maybe like a half per unit or something. But I would definitely look at the Suns here. So this is it for today. Only 6 games, not a lot of action. Just summing it up, I kind of lean towards the New Orleans Pelicans. I think them being 1-point favorites is right. If we see Memphis money coming back the other way, I will probably back the Pelicans for a smaller bet. I like the OKC Thunder. I think that they are matching up amazing against the Blazers and getting 7.5 points at home. I think that should be 5 max, but probably even less. And I like the Phoenix Suns at 2, at 3. Brooklyn without KD traveling back to back. This is not a good spot against a team that has been playing some pretty decent basketball lately. So that is it for today. We have a huge slate tomorrow. I think 11 games or so, 12 maybe. I will be back at the same time. Please join me if you can, and like the video or the podcast and subscribe. It helps a ton. And if you want to support the project, you can go to patreon.com/thebarrelzone and join the Discord channel where I post all my picks and all my write-ups. I'm doing write-ups on all NBA games at 4 a.m. in the morning Eastern, so you will get the info first there. Thanks for tuning in. I will see you guys tomorrow at the same time. Have a great day.